Right, explosive builds, or as I like to call them, boom builds, also known as America, fuck yeah. Right, so I am going to lump Seeker and Mortar Builds into the same video just because boom build, why not? And I am fully aware someone's going to go demolitionist Firefly. Yes, however, there's not really like actual builds for that. It's more you have a build and you just happen to put one on. So we're not really going to delve into that. This is mostly going to be Seekers and Mortars, and I'm also going to go over a few little things that can help bolster certain bits of damage in certain areas, which, to be perfectly honest, I might as well just say now, Vile Mask. That's basically it. Now, while trying to write a few good jokes for this video, it absolutely dawned on me I really shouldn't, because technically speaking, the best mortars in the world come from the British Army, and the best mortar team in the British Army is the Scots Guard. I don't know about you, but I like being here, not a bit over there and a bit over there and a bit over there. I like kind of being whole and intact, and I'm aware someone somewhere's going to go, oh, America's the best mortar teams. Yeah, well, for the military competitions that France, UK, Canada, America, Germany, a few others all get involved in, when it comes to the mortaring competition, the British Army has won it for the past 11 years, so no. And it also turns out, just because when I was fact-checking that in 2018, America got so bored of being beaten that they actually made their own internal competition, which they operate outside of Fort Bragg. Just my own internal headcanon here, but it had absolutely nothing to do with the fact that they lost to the French in 2017. Though everyone loses to the Australians when it comes to mapping, tracking and navigation, just because it's the last event on the last day and there's a bloody barbecue at the end. They also carry extra weight, just because they pack their own bloody barbecue supplies. I wished this was a joke. So let's actually look into the builds now, because we can't all be Scots Guards, who are the only fighting force in modern history under warfare to actually take a knife to a gunfight and bloody win. Mount Tumbledown, look it up. So, up first we have Baby's First Boom Build, 4-piece hardwired, 2-piece Empress, with both their named pieces, the Battery Pack and Caesar's Guard. Caesar's Guard will allow you on enemy kill to basically reset your cooldowns, perfectly calculated. Kills from cover will remove 15% from your current cooldowns. Obviously, you'd also want to pair your Seekers with something like Scanner Pulse, Jammer Pulse, etc., just so that you can proc hardwired. This doesn't work too well on Heroic, let alone Legendary, but it is pretty good for doing like a challenging farm and just throwing Seekers everywhere. Then we have finally being able to enter Heroic. We have 1 Wyvern, 1 China, and then 4-piece hardwired using the Backpack. Glass Cannon on pretty much every form of explosive build is like categorically best in slot, just because it affects pretty much everything that you are actually able to do. There is an alternative to this build which does actually offer more damage, but not in the terms of exploding things. So what we do is we swap out the mask for Vile, and the idea behind this is our second skill, other than Seekers, would be something like Jammer Pulse. Proc Jammer Pulse, this causes a status effect. Because you've now got Explosive from Demolitionist and Explosive from China Light, you can get some decent ticks out of the Vile Mask, and then obviously just rotating skills with Seeker, Jammer Pulse, Seeker, Jammer Pulse, utilising the hardwired. Now, in terms of overall boom, this does a little bit less. However, it will do overall more damage throughout the course of like a mission, for example, simply just because you are hitting everything in range. Admittedly, not doing a lot, but it's more than nothing, especially considering at high levels, Seekers get really twitchy because enemies like to just jump around and roll around, and especially legendary missions who apparently have Dark Souls level iframe capabilities. Now, annoyingly, in terms of doing Seeker builds, there are other variants you can do, but as for like the 3 strongest, that is it. And considering one of them I wouldn't even take on challenging, that should give you a pretty good idea as to how not that powerful Seekers really are. That doesn't mean they can't do a lot of damage. They really can. I've seen them do like 6 to 7 mil. However, the issue is enemies like to run away, move out of the way. A lot of the time Seekers are just dumb, and the overall effect of them isn't really that great beyond just particularly in legendary missions, just making things move around so they don't stand there and go Unga Bunga Grenade and Unga Bunga Drone. Seekers are actually a pretty good, in my opinion, pure utility tool. I don't really use them for damage, I use them as a utility. There's the enemy, make him squeal, make him run, poke him, mummy, go on, you can do it. Then obviously we have the mortars. Now the mortars come in 3 different categories, which is basically spam, little bit of spam, bit of damage, and then all of the damage. There is also one very important piece of information to note when it comes to mortar builds, and it's quite simply they are affected by damage to armour, which means you need to keep an eye out for these: weapon damage, damage to armour, skill damage, contractor's gloves. These are what we like to call a unicorn, because once you get that, you can change it to this. And haha, you thought your skill builds could get away from the OP nature of contractor's gloves. I laugh at you. No, it's really annoying how some of these things work. So, starting off our first in our long list of what is going to need to be unicorns. You got the contractor's gloves. Then you're going to need 2-piece Gruppo, which again are going to have to be unicorns, skill damage, skill haste, just so that you're able to change the cores to yellow. Now, don't get too excited if you've got holster or knees, because you might not need holster or knees. These are just going to be 2 examples, but you will need 2 pieces of Gruppo. And you also don't necessarily need it to be skill damage, skill haste. Technically speaking, skill damage status effect is more damage, but you also lose a lot of your cooldown, which, considering your only form of offense or defense with these builds, is going to be mortaring shit. So I would heavily recommend skill haste, but if you do have a skill damage status effect roll lying around, just simply due to the fact that the mortar does inflict bleed, it's not going to be the worst thing ever. It is technically, like I said, more damage, but you don't really need that much more damage, and you'd be much better off getting more uptime on your boomy booms. Now, up first is the weakest mortar build. We have 1-piece China, 2-piece Gruppo, 2-piece Emperor's, Contractor's gloves. The 2-piece Empress are again the named pieces. The idea behind this is just keep throwing mortars, keep throwing Seekers. You should get pretty decent refresh rates on your Seekers, as well as getting your mortars back in pretty good time. This is not built to do damage. I wouldn't even recommend playing solo with this. This is very much a group orientated thing, and as long as you rotate your skills correctly and occasionally get a kill, you can basically force the enemy to never sit still. They're always being forced to run around, and they barely actually shoot back. This doesn't mean they don't shoot back ever. It's just normally the brave ones that shoot back, but then they're normally hit pretty quick in the face of a mortar. Up next is the build I'm actually running in the background footage. 2-piece Empress, but one of them is Caesar's Guard for perfectly skilled. We're going to run Strategic Alignment, the named China Light Backpack for perfect shock and awe. This gives us another 20% total skill damage. 2-piece Gruppo, Contractor's gloves. This will do considerably more damage than the previous one, while not sacrificing too much in the overall spamming of the Seekers. This is more capable of playing in solo, as you can see. However, it's also not the cleanest play, but this is a build that I actively do utilise. For the final build, and also the only reason I run the previous build, because the next one is so unicorn friggin' heavy, it's unreal, we have 2 Gruppo pieces, unicorn, a Wyvern piece, non-unicorn, Strategic Alignment, non-unicorn, Contractor's gloves, unicorn, and the Sacrifice, unicorn. Yeah, it's fun to farm. I'm still farming it. I want it. This is what I would like to play. But no, Yellow Sacrifice. Where? Now, before people start getting grumpy going, oh, Sacrifice, this is the difference in the damage numbers, okay? The top one is the build I'm running now. I average about 5.2 million a hit. The bottom one is Rise of Brutality, shock, horror, gasp, with his unicorn piece of fucking shit arsehole wank build, hitting near enough 10 mil on a mortar. So yeah, like the trade-off really is worth it, considering all you're going to be doing as a mortar build is hiding in cover, launching absolute meat missiles at idiots and laughing your head off. Now there is like a midway step between the two, more powerful than the build that I'm running in this video, but obviously not going to be quite as powerful as the absolute yeetus deletus. Now that midway build is this 2-piece Hanu, 2-piece Gruppo, contractors, strategic alignment. You could do 1 Hanu, 1 Wyvern, absolute same effect, like no difference. Like I said, it's going to be more powerful than what I'm running here, but not quite as powerful as the yellow sacrifice. Now, just to disperse any myths, misconceptions, and the occasional weird question, because I know for a fact someone's going to go, I run waveform on mine. No. Just no. Okay, the general uptime that you will have on waveform on a mortar build is you will be able to fire effectively to maintain the full buff and effect of waveform. You will only be able to fire roughly, depending on how quick you are at doing it, 2 shots every 40 seconds. So if that's like your thing, then go for it. Because you have a 10-second build up. There's no point firing your mortar at this point because you're not going to be at maximum damage. At this point, just putting a Wyvern piece in would do more. When you hit maximum stacks, that's when you can fire. This lasts for 10 seconds. So maybe 2 shots, 3, I don't know. And then it starts winding down. The wind down, yet again, takes another 10 seconds. So far we're at 30 seconds and you've fired maybe 3 shots. After the 10-second wind down, it sits at its bottom for 10 seconds. Obviously this is now going to go to your Seekers, so this is also again assuming that your Seekers are off cooldown. Yeah, just waveform on a mortar build is about as useful as a handbrake on a bloody canoe. Just don't do it, please. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me and this video. I don't know what's just happened to my voice. I need therapy. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.